How many of you have ever seen the Food Network? Yeah, how many of you are addicted to the Food Network? Oh, come on. There's got to be more. Okay, so when I first got married, I didn't have a job. My wife was working. She made the money. And so therefore, I had the freedom to stay home and watch the Food Network. And I got myself hooked. And that was around the time when Mr. Emeril Lagasse was doing his thing and getting so popular. And so I thought, man, this would be fun. We should do a little cooking this morning here in this place. Can you handle it? What we've got all around the room are things that have been made by people in the church. Not in the building, but, people who are part of Lafayette Community Church have donated their time this week, and they've made some different things. And I'm not going to tell you who made A, but some very generous people have made B. On each one of these tables, you'll see an A and a B. And in just a few minutes, I'm going to give you the opportunity to go around and taste them. And that's going to be kind of our interaction time today. So when you get there are people in our church who've made B. I'm not going to tell you who made A, but I'm making A right now. Right here. This one right here. I'm going to make A. This B was made by Kristen Hines. Kristen Hines, right there. Can you just go ahead and wave so everybody knows when they taste this, they have to answer to you. Okay, but this one here is mine's. And what I'm going to do over here is something I learned on the Food Network. And the Food Network says this. Butter makes everything better, right? You can't ever use too much butter. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you my secret for making some mashed potatoes here. And my secret is just as much butter as you can possibly put in the thing, right? So if you got more butter than potatoes, you're nearly there. So I'm borrowing this from someone. Okay, that works. Okay. So this is really simple. You can tell I'm an excellent cook. I'm a great cook because it's in there. Okay, we're good. All I'm going to do is just mix it. So if we had a video camera up here, that would be awesome. But if anything flies out of here, you guys are just going to have to, pick it up off the floor and do your taste testing down there. We got a little bit of mashing going on right there, but I'm not dumb. I brought some milk too. So I'm going to use a little bit of the milk there, and this right here in our nice Lafayette Community Church mug. You can't buy these anymore because we sold out of them, but you can get our new mugs. They're right outside. Visitors, all you have to do is fill out a Connect card, and you get one for free. Everybody else, it's $5. I'm just saying. Here's some milk. See, it's real milk. There's nothing. I'm not playing any games, not doing any tricks. And I have 4 pounds of potatoes in here. Okay, and this is not my mixer. I'm borrowing it. So if I ruin it, that's the other family that's going to have to deal with that. How many of you like mashed potatoes, by the way? Would it be safe to say that mashed potatoes is like everybody's almost favorite food? Like, it's nobody's favorite food, really? Someone back there is nodding. Yeah, it's the favorite. Okay, so now you're going to taste test in just a minute or so my mashed potatoes. And you're going to have to rank it, and I want to make sure that you are nice to me. Okay? So, we're almost there. We're almost there. It's coming. But I'll tell you what, while I finish this up, how about you guys get up and go around the room and go to the different tables and start sampling some stuff. We've got bread over here, fresh baked bread. We've got cookies, sugar cookies up here. In the back, we've got some chicken noodle soup, fresh homemade, not like from that canned stuff, chicken noodle soup. And then, of course, we've also got our coffee and our donuts and whatnot in the back if you really want to just ignore all the rest of this stuff up here. But some very generous people in the church provided the bananas and apples and the coffee cake and stuff in the back, so you can take some of that too. Okay, this is almost done. I'm very close. So how about you go ahead and get up, say hi to someone near you, grab a Bible from the back, and then make your way around to the different tables and try some stuff. Bam. 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 Amen. Well, hopefully you went around and you got a good taste test. And what I want to know is how many of you appreciated letter A better than the letter B? How many of you appreciated letter A better than B? Like no one? Maybe just one person? How many of you appreciated B more than A most of the time? Okay? All right. Did anybody get back to the soup and get it cooled off enough that you could try both of them? Was there like a small difference between A and B, or was there a big difference between... Big difference? What about the bread? What do you think about the bread? Was there like a small difference or a big difference? Big difference? What I didn't even taste them. Did my mashed potatoes turn out at all well? Yeah, someone's going to just go ahead and tell me they're all good. But what were better? Which was better, the A or the B? The B, yeah, clearly, because I didn't touch them. And the cookies over there, were the A cookies or the B cookies better? The B cookies were better? Okay, so around the board, most people in this room thought the B cookies were better, thought the B things were better. How many of you know the difference? Salt. Salt was the difference, the only difference in every one of these recipes. Kristen Hines made some potatoes, and she told me how much butter she used and how much milk she used. It just so happened I didn't actually have the full cup of milk that I thought I had because I was using our mug, which doesn't actually have measurements on the side. But other than that, the recipe was exactly the same as her recipe, just without salt. And I used unsalted butter too. Over here, the bread. I made both of those loaves of bread, one of them with salt, one without salt. That's the only difference. See, salt is magical. Salt has this magical property that, you know, if you get it right, it makes everything completely better. Let me bring up my screen here so I can show you this stuff as we go through it. But I want to just take you on a journey with me this morning. We're beginning a brand new series that I'm calling BAM, because of the effect of salt in our lives. See, salt has this magical property that it just makes everything better. I mean, take the bread over there. You've got 2 loaves of bread. They could be fresh from the oven. They're steaming. They're warm. You just can smell that bread smell in the air, and everything is absolutely perfect. You could go over there. You smell both of them. They're absolutely perfect. They seem perfect. The texture, the crust, it's all working out just well. But you taste it, and it's like nasty. But along comes a little salt, and bam! It's awesome. You got chicken noodle soup in the background. It's bubbling. You know, you got the vegetables in there. You got the celery, the carrots. That was actually one batch. I made that batch yesterday. It was just one batch of chicken noodle soup together. And we split them up this morning and just sprinkled a little bit of salt in letter B. That was it. That was it. And so it's there, it's bubbling, and yet you taste it and it's like nasty. But a little salt comes along, and bam, everything's better. You got the cookies up here, and they got a nice coating of sugar on them. You know, they look good. You think they're going to be good. They're the perfect round cookie shape. They got a nice brown on the bottom. Paige Heitzman made those cookies. Mike brought them here this morning. He told me that he tasted them this week. He tasted letter A this week, and they were nasty. But along comes a little salt, and bam! Everything's better. Do it one more time, we got the mashed potatoes. And other than the fact that yours truly made the ones on the letter A side, you would look at them and you'd be like, man, mashed potatoes, I love mashed potatoes. Someone even said to me up here, can you mess up mashed potatoes? Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can. I mean, they're nice, they're fluffy maybe. Maybe you can even get them without lumps, but they can be nasty. And along comes a little salt, and bam, everything's better. Your neighbor is washing his car. He loves his family. He does his job extraordinarily well. Everything about his life looks like it's going right. But you get inside a little bit, and it's nasty. And along comes a little salt, and bam, everything's better. And you're the salt. I'm getting ahead of myself, though, because, see, before we can talk about you being the salt, we have to talk about what salt is in general and what it does. Now, we all know that salt makes things taste better. Too much salt, depending on who you are, can make things taste bad, but the right amount of salt can make it taste amazing and can make a huge difference, even on things that you didn't even know should need it. Things that you can't even necessarily taste it ordinarily, but it does make a difference. Flavor, we all know that. But another thing you got to remember is that salt has this preservative effect. In fact, for much of history, salt was so expensive and so rare because of its preservative properties that you couldn't use it in a normal household to flavor things because it was too important to keep your food from rotting. It was more important to make sure your food wasn't rotten than it was to make sure it tasted good. Because if it's tasting good but rotten, it's going to kill you. But if it's good through the middle and it doesn't taste the greatest, at least you're going to live another day. So salt was a preservative long before. I found this Wikipedia article talking about salt and how it's used. It turns out there are like 3 or 4 different Wikipedia articles about salt and the preservation of food and the things that it can do. And there are all kinds of ways that it preserves food, one of which is that it just absolutely kills bacteria that's on the surface of food. And then it crusts the food so no bacteria can get into the center of the food. And so for centuries, salt's been used that way. It's an amazing mineral. In fact, salt was so valuable that the ancient Romans used it as currency, and that's why, to this day, your monthly paycheck is called a salary, from the word salt. The Romans would pay their soldiers a salary, a salt allowance, and that's where we get the word. Salt was their currency. In fact, jot this down. There are 3 things you need to remember about salt: flavor, preservation, and value. Flavor, preservation, and value. Anyone who had salt had a great blessing. Salt was so rare, salt was so expensive, salt was so necessary that if you had it, you had a great blessing. So what if someone told you that you were salt? Well, for us today, it doesn't really click. Number one, we don't really have the sense of how valuable salt is because it's on all of our tables. Every one of us has a table with salt on it. You go to any restaurant in North America,